And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Blessed to be a part of your day. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Big weekend as we had more and more people yapping about the families being ripped apart. And we'd like to know your thoughts on that. We'll get to that as well, plus your thoughts on other issues. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And again, people are complaining. They're upset that the president is actually doing the right thing, and that is enforcing the law. When we're talking about the border, you have people coming here illegally and being ripped away from their families and such. And you think to yourself, well, if you weren't coming here illegally, you wouldn't have your families being torn apart, right? Here's our own Simon Owen with the very latest.
The UN's human rights chief saying the US is punishing children for their parents' actions.
The thought that any state would seek to deter parents by inflicting such abuse on children is unconscionable.
Saeed Rad al-Hussein calling on the Trump administration to immediately end the practice of separating children from their parents.
People do not lose their human rights by virtue of crossing a border without a visa.
Al-Hussein saying the practice is increasing the suffering of many vulnerable people. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Well, isn't it just as simple at 580-5436, 580-KIDO that if you don't want to be separated from your family, that if you don't want to be held in a detention center, then you don't come across the border illegally, right? That's really what it comes down to. You don't break the law. You don't do things that are going to cause you to be detained. But for years, under President Obama and under President Bush and under President Clinton, and the list goes on and on and on, people could come here illegally, be rewarded for it, and have a great time. And we would pay for it. You know, as I was watching the Sunday shows yesterday, it was, 18 million either Americans or American children or of that nature will, in fact, be without food or without shelter or without something else. That's something that is not being publicized. Why in the world would you sit back and put other people's kids ahead of your own? You wouldn't. You wouldn't allow people to take away from your family. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when you take a look at what's happening at the border, and yes, it's horrific, but it can be stopped simply by just obeying the law, simply by coming here legally. And yet you have people ripping the administration, saying that this is horrible, saying that this is the worst thing ever. And yet, if you didn't listen to Kellyanne Conway yesterday on Meet the Depressed, if you didn't listen to Steve Bannon on ABC's This Week, you'd have an entirely skewed perspective. The deep state is running wild. They want people to believe that the president, the Republicans are evil. They're just finally enforcing the law.
It's embarrassing that people killed the fatted calf and rolled out the red carpet for his book tour when yet again we see him putting himself before the process, grandstanding, showboating, but more importantly, subverting the process. He was insubordinate, and he went outside of Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General's responsibilities, I think, to just act on his own.
There you have it. Acting on his own, James Comey. That's the narrative that the media does not want you to see. That's the media narrative that they want to portray. So when you have these kids coming here illegally, when you have these people coming here illegally, when you have the country that is doing its very best to take care of Americans, which, by the way, is there anything wrong with taking care of Americans? Of course not. There's nothing wrong with taking care of Americans. In fact, we should all be taking care of Americans. That's what we do because we're American. By the way, let's take a listen to this media narrative here where people are taking the sides of the lawbreakers.
Finger pointing happening here in Washington right now. As you said, a lot of anger spilling over in these demonstrations. We're hearing the First Lady weigh in. Democrats headed to the border today. All of this amid calls to reunite these families. Father's Day protests across the country, including this one in Texas, against tent cities being set up to house immigrant children.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy. So they went up fast. I think they should follow the money.
Nearly 2,000 children crossing the border have been separated from their parents since April, when the government started enforcing zero tolerance.
Some hot mess, because that's what this is.
President Trump facing critics from his own party.
More than 20-year straight Republican voter, and I am not anymore.
President blames bad legislation by Democrats.
The Democrats have to change their law. That's their law.
First Lady Melania Trump weighing in. Mrs. Trump hates seeing children separated from their families. A statement from her office says, adding that the U.S. needs to follow all laws, but govern with heart.
It's zero tolerance. I don't think you have to justify it.
The administration's defending it.
Why would you want the children in jail with their parents? You want them in a facility temporarily.
President Trump could stop this policy with a phone call.
Key Republicans are lining up against the separation policy. President Trump prepares to meet with them on Capitol Hill tomorrow, and lawmakers vote this week. And, of course, part of that, the president's been pushing for more border security. But, John and Maureen, the administration denies that any of this, the separating of children and parents, has to do with bargaining to get Congress to pay for that border wall.
There we have it. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO from our friends at Channel 7, and with their affiliate in Texas going over the border wall. Look, we need a border wall. We need to secure our borders. And as I've said before, whether it's the state of Idaho or anywhere else, and we'll be going back to Washington, D.C. again to talk about this, we have to make sure that we take care of the future of America. And we take a look at what's going on here in the Treasure Valley. And I remember somebody saying to me, well, to make sure people are safe, there was no massive deportations under President Obama. It comes down to this. Do you want the immigration laws to be enforced? I don't know. Maybe it's a rainy Monday. Maybe you're getting another extra Father's Day weekend. Maybe you think to yourself, well, Kevin, this is too controversial. We should just sit back and allow people to come in. Well, maybe you should cut your paycheck in half and give it to somebody who's just moved in here from Wyoming or California. And maybe you should give up half your house. There has to be an end to the self-loathing that is perpetrated by the mainstream media on our beautiful, glorious nation, otherwise known as the United States of America. And we have to be able to stand up for ourselves and say, yes, we are Americans. Yes, we love nationalism. Yes, we want to make sure that our children and their children and their children's children have the same shot at the American dream that we do. Not to be victims to enclaves of alien nations coming in and taking over culturally, linguistically, ethnically, whatever you want to call it. That's really what it comes down to. And you have people saying, well, this is inhumane. Tell that to the Americans who have lost their jobs, to folks coming in undercutting them.
Second one came here with his 5-year-old daughter. He heard, because there's no way to know, that she's in Michigan, but he doesn't know for sure. When he crossed the border...
You know, what type of parent would come to a country where they know they're going to be separated from their children? What type of responsible parent would take that risk? And by the way, you have, unfortunately, a lot of bad things happening to those kids. So it's good that the feds keep them in custody. It's good that the feds are protecting them. Of course, we're not hearing that from the liberal, progressive, mainstream media. We're going to hear how it's evil, how it's sad. Do you want the kids in jail? No, of course not. You want the kids safe. You want the kids getting meals. But what type of responsible parent allows that to happen?
They took his daughter, as Hakeem said, while he was sleeping at 3 a.m. in the morning. While he was sleeping, they snuck in and took the daughter away.
Right, before he was detained. So we have that issue. And coming up, a personal story. I had a very good friend of mine call me. And by the way, this is probably not a big story, But we had this big situation with the Pride Week, right? Everybody was the Pride Week, the Pride Weekend, the flags going up. And as I said before, you have a lot of people that are good people, that are confused people, that are misunderstood people, that perhaps listened to this program or heard somebody talk about this program and saying, oh, Kevin Miller was a gay basher. Oh, Kevin Miller was urging protests. Oh, Kevin Miller was this. And I had a very good friend of mine call me and say, look, Kevin, I'm worried. I've got friends of mine in my neighborhood, at my business, saying this about me, saying this about you. Is this true? And I said, look, you can go to KIDO Talk Radio anytime, KIDOTalkRadio.com anytime, and look at our podcasts. Ray and I puts them up, and you can listen for yourself. Having done this for 23 years, having done this in the Treasure Valley for almost 9 years, talk radio is the most misunderstood format, not only in television but in media. It's so easy, and we have professional agitators, people that listen to this program, that make things up, that tell other people lies about me, lies about you, lies about this show, to stir it up because their agenda is to get us kicked off the air. It happened in Pittsburgh. I hope it doesn't happen here. But that is the case. We're ever vigilant. In Pittsburgh, it was because of President Obama. Here, you have local people. So I had a friend of mine call me, and he said, Kevin Miller, I hear you're bashing the gays. I said, no, but I did make the point, and I will reiterate the point. When you have Pride Fest, how tolerant are the promoters of Pride? How tolerant are the promoters of the gay agenda when you say, you know something? I disagree with it. I respect your right to express your opinion. I hope that in turn you respect mine. I hope that you respect my right to say I don't believe that the city of Boise should be showing favoritism from one group over another. And then we had you call in at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And the problem with special interest groups is when they have this festival, and it has grown over the years, they start thinking that everybody believes that they believe that they have the shared values. When most people, they'd rather spend the weekend at the mountains, at the beach, hanging with their kids, or like me, sleeping and watching politics. However, if you disagree, then you have people coming after you. And I had a very good friend of mine, who was very concerned about the tone of this program. I said, well, Timmy, go ahead and listen to this show. And I said, but it proves my point exactly, that if you have enough courage to morally stand up and say, I don't agree with the city embracing this. And if the city embraces one set of values, then the city should embrace another. Maybe it's the pro-life community. And maybe it's the Confederate veterans, the descendants of the Confederate veterans. And then you could have their flags up, because what's the difference in flags? One is hate and one is tolerance. Well, didn't Larry, the publisher of Hustler magazine, didn't he go to the Supreme Court that said in that controversial decision that obscenity is protected by the First Amendment, that controversy is protected under the First Amendment, right? Well, people don't want to think that. They just want to call names. And I'm again, over the phone, this was like late Friday night, and not that I'm promoting Larry Flint values here, but I thought to myself, wow, this proves my point, that if you say, I disagree respectfully with the city of Boise raising the flag, if they're not going to raise the flag for other people, I don't agree with this, and I don't agree with a lot of people on this, then I'm to be vilified? Well, I thought this is about tolerance and bringing people together. And again, it was fascinating to have that conversation late Friday night. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Number one, do you agree with the president and his policies? Hey, you come to America illegally, you are criminals. Number one. That's going against the Bleeding Heart Grain. Number two, at 580-5436, we just had Pride Fest, Gay Fest, call it what you will. Do you believe that you have the freedom in the Treasure Valley or America to just say no? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
One guy said he came here with his little brother, 7 years old. Came within the last couple of months. Doesn't have any idea where the little brother was. The little brother was taken away from him. Ex-military guy who was persecuted basically by drug dealers who were going after him and probably his younger brother.
Good morning. Kevin Miller in the morning talking about the families being broken up. Is this the right move? Do want to remind you, two things coming up. We've got the Boise Music Festival this Saturday, the 23rd at Expo Idaho. Hope to see you there. And a week from tomorrow, it is God and Country. That is at the Ford Idaho Center Amphitheater. It is free. 4 o'clock starts. Free fireworks, the first fireworks of the season. You can listen to the music and the fireworks beginning about 10-ish, 10:30-ish on KIDO Talk Radio. We look forward to once again being involved in God and Country and hope to see you at the Boise Music Festival coming up this Saturday. Cindy in Caldwell, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I am so glad to see the rain out. I hope that for all the farmers and ranchers, this is adding to, whatever crop or whatever is happening. And you know what, Kevin, I really have to say this about I would say, hysteria of people that somehow think, and it's a think thing, and it probably... they maybe don't understand how many immigration laws, legal immigration laws, that we already have, which have nothing to do with the president. And I mean, I almost want to say, if this isn't just another way of the left with the do-gooders thinking somehow with their works to heaven idea and this insanity of thinking, when I worked in Connecticut, half the time there were 3 high schools when new kids would come in, and it was really hard when who was identifying that this was their mother, their cousin, their aunt. You never knew who was who. That's number one. And of course, I mean, I think it's a joke. Pastor Jeffers on there yesterday, who was Donald Trump's, and he is one of his prayer people. He was talking about the moral deterioration in America and how America continually shakes its fist at God. God has us in the Bible saying we should obey the law. These people are being unlawful. The parents who have got illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them, into this country. And God's big concern always was these children that America continues to think from Roe versus Wade that it is perfectly okay. A law in a Bible is if it's repeated from the Old Testament to the New. So when these people are out there, Nancy Pelosi, and you sit which day you go to a church and continue to defy and shake your fist like Robert De Niro in the face of God and continually talk about ripping children out. How about from where they're supposed to be the safest, according to Psalm 139, according to Luke 1:41, Mark 10:13 and 16. I have to almost laugh when they're talking about us ripping children and trying to keep them safe, and they can figure out a big mess. So actually, the other thing you did mention, which was the other decline of America, it is not my opinion about homosexuality. I could give you verse after verse in the Bible, which Pastor Jeffers spoke to. It is always evidence in a nation that's declining when we are rebellious. Choose your behavior, pay for them the health care consequences, but know that from Leviticus 18:22 to many passages in the New Testament, God wants you to have a good, healthy life, not only to propagate, but to have the marriage between a man and a woman. I'm just repeating what every evangelical, and I would have to say a Catholic, I go along with the Mormons on this, that is doctrine. It's not my opinion. So I support our immigration laws and this always feely good thing that these people on the left want you to believe is like the best thing. There's no balancing the scales to heaven. There's one way there, and this is absolutely possibly, I would say, one of the continuing strategies that the left is using to support their party and to just gin up once again their hatred towards this president.
Cindy, thank you for the call.
You're quite welcome. Bye-bye.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Back to zero policy, the zero tolerance policy. Do you agree with it? I do, and I think that's why Donald Trump was elected, much to the chagrin of the Democrats, of the progressive left. Are you willing to stand with the president and say, if you come to the country legally, you forfeit all your rights to keep your children until we figure out whether or not these kids are here legally? What is wrong with that? If you get pulled over, if the police take you away, they don't send your kids with you to the jail. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Thank you all for joining us. Coming up, we'll have the latest on Fox Wheels with our own Jeff Manasso. And we'll take a look at a few other things. We'll take more of your phone calls on the zero-tolerance policy concerning immigration and whether or not the president is correct. I believe he is. I believe his cause is just. And, yes, you have to feel the pain. But if you break the law, then you're, in fact, going to have to pay the piper. Don't forget, coming up Saturday, it is the Boise Music Festival. Very excited about that. You're going to see Robin Thicke. You're going to see Echo Smith and all the other big stars. The 9th annual Boise Music Festival at Expo, Idaho. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Jeff Manasso joins us now from Fox News Radio for Fox Wheels on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
And we take a look at the Fox Wheels segment. What's going on in the world of automobiles?
Well, a high-speed tunnel from Chicago to O'Hare International Airport is moving a step closer to reality. The Boring Company, founded by Tesla CEO Elon Musk, it's been selected to build a high-speed underground transportation system, like about 60 feet or so, depending on what's underground, maybe even lower than that, to build this massive high-speed tube that Teslas can go about 125, 150 miles an hour from a certain location in downtown Chicago to O'Hare. And Tesla's also talking about these Tesla vehicles, 16-passenger Tesla vehicles. So the idea is that you enter a ramp in downtown Chicago, and an elevator takes you down once the car's loaded up, and you go all the way down to the underground tube, and you enter this system where your Tesla can haul all the way to the airport, take you about a 12-minute ride, where normally it takes you on any given day, up to an hour or so. So it's kind of interesting. The project will be completely funded by Tesla in its entirety. And Tesla plans to collect ticket and advertising revenue for that, but no word yet on construction cost or timeline. We're still waiting for those details.
Boy, talk about son of the big dig of what was going on in Boston, but I guess then it would only be for Teslas.
Well, for now, I mean, Tesla, if Tesla's footing the bill, I would imagine that he's got, full right to be able to decide, who goes in this thing and who doesn't. But, we'll see. I think all the animation and all the drawings that we've seen, the designs and things like that, it's basically Tesla vehicles. And so we'll see, but it certainly is an interesting concept, particularly if you live or work in downtown Chicago and you fly to O'Hare. A lot like I do, that ride would be pretty intense, pretty great, having just a 10-minute ride to the airport. I think that there were talks about doing the same thing in L.A., and who knows, maybe even beyond.
What they say, what will they think of next? Anything else going on in the world of cars and trucks?
Well, there was one story that we covered. Dozens of vehicles have fallen victim to some brazen vandals in Southern California. So surveillance video shows a pair of suspects, vandals, last week walking up and down Fontana, California's Pacific Auto Center lot and just spraying some type of corrosive liquid, possibly paint thinner, possibly acid, on the hoods, the side panels, windshields, and headlights of 91 cars and trucks. So basically these vehicles are not destroyed, but they all have some serious body work. And the damage is estimated at $1.1 million to fix these vehicles. The dealer is insured, though the question is, who's got the guts to do something like this? The identities of the man and woman seen wearing goggles and jumpsuits, not known, though one would think that it was probably a former client, somebody who bought a car there, not happy with their service, something like that. And so the search is on for them, although two security guards, full-time security guards, were on duty at the dealership at the time, and their futures are also uncertain.
Jeff Monosso, we always appreciate you, and hope you have a great day, sir.
Thank you, sir. You too. Our
great friend, Jeff Monosso. Remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio in the Treasure Valley, you're listening to the one, the only home of Fox News right here, right now. It is KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. If you're just waking up, this is what we've been talking about so early in the morning.
What the administration has decided to do is to separate children from their parents to try to send a message that if you cross the border with children, your children are going to be ripped away from you. That's traumatizing to the children who are innocent victims.
Nobody likes seeing babies ripped from their mother's arms, from their mother's wombs, frankly. But we have to make sure that DHS's laws are understood through the soundbite culture that we live in.
It's not the law. It's the president's policy. In fact, he has stated, it's been reported in the press, that he's using it as a negotiation tool. He's using it to intimidate families so they don't come across the border. He's using it as a political ploy.
It is inconsistent with our American values to separate these children from their parents unless there's evidence of abuse or another very good reason.
I certainly don't want anybody to use these kids as leverage. I saw a headline that breathlessly screamed as much, and I object to that very forcefully.
There we have it. If you break the law, you go to jail, right? Lucy in Emmett with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lucy.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I just wanted to say I agree with you. You know, I have a heart. I feel sorry for them. Of course they want to come to the United States if they can, but you know what? We have laws. And the president is only obeying the law. The news clips I saw last night, the children aren't tiny. The ones I saw were pretty good sized. And it would happen in their country. If we came to their country, we got to have our visas, right? So why don't they have theirs? Anyway, that's where I stand on it, and I also agree that, oh my goodness, I've lost my train of thought.
Boy, I hate it when that happens, and I have no phone calls.
Yes. I also agree that we should pay for Americans. Why aren't we taking care of our own people first? We're paying taxes for a lot of this, all of this.
What people don't understand, and Lucy, you hit the nail on the head, is people elected Donald Trump to make the tough decisions.
There you go. And we're glad he's doing it. I am glad he's doing it. I fully support him. I have quit going to bed so worried at night after the change of command in Washington, D.C. Anyway, let's say it that way, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm also just as happy as a clam that helper in Washington stopped that shooter. I think they need to know. I think the guy with the gun who's doing it illegally, who's causing the trouble, should have to think in the back of his head, maybe there's somebody out here that's going to stop me. About time.
Lucy, I agree with you. Thank you.
You bet. And thank you for the voice. And I'm sorry I'm stuttering this morning.
Look, I stutter all the time. No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
6:43, Kevin Miller in the morning. Your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Liberal Steve joins us now. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
This is 2018. We ain't keen with Miller and the men. We're down with the chicken and the hen.
What?
What? You heard me, and who cares? Who really cares, Miller, about these children that are being separated from the parents? Come on. people really cared, they'd put a stop to it. If the politicians really cared, they'd put a stop to it. If I really cared, I'd put a stop to it. We don't care. They're being fed. They're being taken care of. The parents are being checked in. It's a joke. You know, listen to these Kellyanne Conway sound bites and Steve Bannon. They're all blah, blah, blah all week long. Same thing over and over. What's new next week? Earthquake in San Francisco? No, that was the emergency room doctor that was kicked out the other day. Did you see that on the news?
Anything else?
No, and gay pride. You know you're down with it, Miller. You just try and be tough and tongue-in-cheek thing, so stay fired up.
Thank you for the call. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Speaking of Pride Fest, let's go to Arvell in Fruitland. Were you there at the Pride Fest?
Yes, Kevin. Both Pro-Life and I came there, and we mainly watched the parade go by, and we brought our signs. And I was only just going to show my sign and let it be at that. But it's hard to not say anything when you see these people celebrating their lifestyle and knowing what their end is, what's happening. I mean, what will happen to them if they don't turn away from it. And so I would call out and say, turn to Jesus, put your faith in Jesus, open your heart to him so that you know real love. And that's not accepted, of course, but I just feel I have to say those things.
Well, how'd they treat you back?
This year they weren't aggressive. They'd make their comments and give their gestures, but I wasn't threatened physically, and so they were, overall pretty pleasant.
You have been threatened in the past, though.
Yes.
Funny, nobody ever reports that, do they?
No, but that's just the way it is. I mean, I understand, their pathology, I would call it. I have compassion for the gays. I was trained as a psychiatric social worker and worked in the Army with psychiatrists where we interviewed a number of homosexual men. That was at a time when they were discharged from the Army. And basically, it's a matter of growing up where we have positive adults to model after. And for me, I had a father who I wasn't really close to, but I had older brothers. And they really cared for me, and I modeled after them. They were in sports, and so I was in sports. And we also have a need for acceptance and approval, as well as disapproval, which my brothers were able to dish out to me. And if we don't find acceptance from positive peers, we'll find it with those who may take advantage of our vulnerability, because we all need acceptance. We all need to be recognized and approved. And so we're real vulnerable there and can become subject to someone who may take advantage of that, and we'll do whatever to maintain our relationship with them. And that's why it's so hard for gays to leave their lifestyle, because of their relationships that have shown them, acceptance.
Arvell, thank you for the call. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And there we have it. That's the major discussion. The president continues his zero-tolerance policy, which is what he was elected to do. And you have people on the other side of the aisle going after him and saying, no, it's wrong, no, it's horrific, you can't do this. Well, are we going to continue to fund people coming to this country, living here, having a good time at our expense, or are we going to protect America? Lori in Boise, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Lori.
Hello, Kevin. Good morning. I'm thinking just again about the hypocrisy of the left, in that first they are for children, but they don't have any mercy for the unborn. You can take the babies out. There's no compassion there. And then the policies that they have are actually hurting children here in the U.S., the high taxation, the debt that we're leaving to our children, the policies of not using our forests, they're shut off. We can't cut trees and have these jobs for people and that kind of thing in Idaho. The policies that have really hurt families, that hurt children. And so I really roll my eyes when they say we're the party of compassion. But the other aspect of this, to me, is that they don't abide by the rule of law. They want to undo the rule of law, and we've really seen a lot of that going on, especially in the last 30, 40 years, and with President Obama taking so many matters into his own hands. And, people say, well, Trump's doing it also, but it's a pattern of usurping power of the government, of the separation of powers between one branch of government and the other. And this pattern of lawlessness, well, if I have a phone and a pen and I can do whatever I want. And that idea of we don't have to follow rules. And if we don't follow rules, no one is safe in this country, and our children are not safe. And it's just a matter of trying to usurp power so that they can have control. That's what they want, is centralized government control. And the more they can get people in here that perhaps will vote in their favor, it builds their power base. So it's just hypocrisy, the stance that they take for children, and yet their own policies are hurting children and growing this massive government that in the end takes away the liberty of the children and the economic freedom. So I'm just like, stick with it and let Congress do its job. If they want to fix this, they will fix it. And they're just trying to use this for a ploy to lay it on the president. It's your fault. And so he just needs to push back, say, you are the hypocrites. You fix it.
Lori,
so
great.
That's my.
Lori, great point. And Max in Garden City at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning. Let me pose a situation. Let's say that a man and a woman take their child or children and they break into your house. And as they're inside breaking in, the police arrest them. What do they do with the children? If they let the children stay with mommy and daddy in jail, even the lefties are going to go nuts. Oh, my Lord, how could these people bring a child to a crime? How could they lock the child up in jail? No, you put the kids in a separate juvenile facility. You hold on to them while mommy and daddy are tried. That's all we're doing on the border. So what's wrong with it? Is the inhumanity because of President Trump? Or is it because mom and dad, if they're their mom and dad, decided to bring them over the border? They're aliens. They're invading our country, and they're involving minors.
Max, great point. Thank you for listening. Fox News next. Kevin Miller, we're just getting started. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, everyone.